Some headline news. Kari Lake, the Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, has had her office placed on lockdown after a staff member opened a package or an envelope with a note in it that said, "Caution, anthrax," along with a suspicious substance in the envelope. Ladies and gentlemen, anthrax is normally delivered in a powder form. It is able to be carried in a dust, inhaled, and most of us know that anthrax is pretty dangerous. You have less than 72 hours in some cases to start a prescription of antibiotics in order to prevent it from doing internal damage to the extent that you cannot stop it. So if you ever hear the fact that you've been exposed to anthrax, understand that the doctors that you're working with are going to need to prescribe a certain type of antibiotic to you effective immediately. And once that's determined, you don't want to delay whatsoever. Even if you don't have anthrax exposure, but you were in the room, you were in the area, it isn't going to hurt you to take that antibiotic. It'll be a little rough on your system for a few days, but the alternate resort is even worse. The fact that people are playing these kind of games in politics right now just tells you how serious the cartels are and the opponents to Kari Lake are in the state of Arizona not to lose the U.S. Senate. And of course, there's always the remote possibility that this was just fake baby powder by some whack job out there. So Kari Lake, our best wishes to you and your staff for standing the wall and guarding the state of Arizona. We can tell how serious it is by what's happening to you. And as I lead off on that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to talk about COVID-19. In the course of watching some news distribution and information, it has become more than apparent that there is now enough scientific information and evidence to show that the health agencies got rid of a safe and effective drug, which was hydrochloroquine and ivermectin, versus their major investment in forcing everybody into remdesivir as the only other option that you could get if you were hospitalized and then cut off from your family and denied access or treatment to any other medications. The Advanced Bioresearch Group, ABRG, has now possibly identified that mRNA has caused not only DNA damage and injury, but may be showing the next generation cause and effect, especially maybe where women are concerned, in passing this genetical defect down to next generation. There will be more to follow on that. I will do my best. Judicial Watch has obtained documents showing fraud on a large scale with Pfizer and Moderna being involved, and 3 lawsuits are ready to be filed from what I've been able to research through the media. Peter Navarro's medical advisor, Dr. Stephen Hatfill, witnessed corruption in a large scale, and he says that people need to go to jail, that it was that bad and that extent and that obvious and that blatant. So we already know that Zuckerberg has stated that the U.S. government was involved in sequestering his activities and basically coercing him into having people removed from social media platforms that spoke to ivermectin and hydrochloroquine. And the FDA, the CDC, were all involved in this. And so I tend to agree with Hatfield. People need to go to jail. I come from military training in nuclear, biological, and chemical defensive warfare training. So I know what I'm talking about when we talk about blood, blister, nerve agents. We talk about anthrax as a bioagent. We have a situation where if the government was coercing, suppressing valid medical information, including the scientists that went along with it, trying to strip them of their medical licenses and right to practice, shutting down their communications at a internet level of communications between emails, etc., then you have basically, as far as I'm concerned, a crime against humanity. So who's going to hold those people accountable? oh, well, the new president's just going to seek retribution. No, he's going to be seeking justice, and it should be handed out with a heavy hand. 320 million people live in America, and we have twice the death toll of India from COVID-19? Go figure. Tell me that something wasn't wrong. Over 1 million deaths is what I heard reported. And Stephen Hatfield, this medical doctor, it just happens to be a virologist. So I tend to side with him when it comes to identifying whether or not somebody was suppressing perfectly good medicines from the general public. As an advisor to the executive office of the president, if Dr. Stephen Hatfield stepped forward and said that ivermectin and hydrochloroquine were the best possible drugs, cheap, 8 cents a dose, and nobody's going to make any money off of that. So who came up with all this other stuff, including incubation, when it wasn't even required? Incubation was almost a sentence to death. Dr. Stephen Hatfield further recommended that a third-party independent review of all new meds needed to be established. Now, mind you, we already are supposed to have government overwatch, but now we need, to put it in one reporter's words, we need an overseer for the overseer. But Hatfield clearly understands what was committed in the level of fraud by the government and Big Pharma, that an independent review needs to be had. Whether it's you or me, we need to stand in and see if somebody is just saying, oh, no, we don't want to use that drug, when all of a sudden India is using ivermectin and they're putting down hundreds of millions of cases of COVID-19. Why wouldn't you follow the recommendations of a virologist that said, why are you taking this off the market to Americans? There's a book that Dr. Stephen Hatfield wrote called 3 Seconds to Midnight. 3 Seconds to Midnight. You might want to take a look at the book, 3 Seconds to Midnight. I know I'm ordering the book because, having been involved with nuclear, chemical, and biological defensive warfare in the U.S. military, this man says that he is naming names, he is pointing out situations and circumstances that I want to know about. Because if we don't know what happened, it's going to happen again. These people will pull this same dirty trick, send everybody scared, running like rabbits back into their house. But will it be real or will it be fake? Will there be cheap, effective medicines on the shelf that we could all take? Or is somebody going to try to force you to take another vaccine? The fact that they're still trying to make our children take vaccines is criminal. The fact that I still see ads on the television from Big Pharma to come get your COVID-19 modified injection is infuriating. I don't even know, I don't even have words for it. I wish I knew where I could push the big red button, because I'd be stomping on that big red button to put those guys out of business. Can't tell that I'm a little sensitive to some of these pharmaceutical situations, or the type of biological warfare that's being inflicted upon us. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to some of the people that were interviewed in the lines with Donald Trump recently at a rally. And a reporter walked down through the line questioning him. What's the most important thing to you in this election coming up? Please tell me out loud into the microphone. And the reporter took off down the line of several hundred feet. And what came back was the border, the border, the border, the economy, the economy, the economy. And again, if you're paying as much for a gallon of milk as you are a gallon of gasoline, you know something's broken. If you're paying as much for 4 cubes of butter as you are for a gallon of gasoline, you know something's broken. The border, you would have to be an idiot not to understand that we are being invaded on a wholesale scale by a criminal operation that is backed by governments south of our border and into China, not to recognize that we're in the course of a wholesale invasion. but in our own government, to which I agreed to defend from both domestic and foreign governments, depending on where they are at, foreign and domestic. Our government is shipping these illegal aliens that are coming across the border into every city in the United States to do what? Vote? Affect our vote? I have a message for Donald Trump. Please, if you hear this, sir, will you make the announcement to the world and to these illegal immigrants that are invading our country that if you vote in this election, you are on automatic deportation, on contact, no matter what, and that you are permanently exiled from this country. If we went to Mexico and tried to vote, we'd be in jail for 10 years on contact. So why would we do any less? And yes, sir, I agree with you, President Trump. If an illegal alien commits the murder of a U.S. citizen, the death penalty should stand 110%. There should be no question. And it should not take a long time. And it should be evident. And it should be held publicly. And it should be displayed and broadcast so that every illegal criminal, MS-13 gang member knows if you go out and chop somebody up with a machete here, you kill some kid, you kill my daughter, my kid, my son, my mom, my dad, in a drunk driving head on, whatever, and you live, you're done. You're done. Maybe they'll think twice, I don't know. But without any consequence, nothing's going to happen except that it's going to get worse. So I agree with the president. You kill an American citizen as an illegal alien, and especially in the course of a crime, you deserve the death penalty straight up front. It should happen to most anybody. You walk up and shoot somebody in a robbery, you deserve the death penalty. Not life in prison at my taxpayer expense. You need to go ahead and just be put down. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen, but I have some pretty hard opinions when it comes to those issues. The border is affecting all levels of life in the United States. There is a shortage of housing, there's a shortage of jobs, there's a shortage of medical services, there's increased crime, there's increased costs of living, and the death of our family, our kids, and our friends. At what point do you take action against this type of invasion of our country? At what point do you take Biden and Kamala Harris and hold them for treason? At what point do you take these people and place them in this program, in the strike zone, to be held accountable by every level of judicial manner possible? And that includes the lame, absolute treasonous U.S. Attorney General that we have right now. He is responsible. He is one of the leaders. So, ladies and gentlemen, if we can, I'd like to continue to focus on what happens if we end up with terrorist strikes out of this invasion. You have to know with the backpacks and the materials that we're finding from foreign countries, whether it's from Afghanistan to China, that there are more people involved in the terrorist activities that are aimed and focused at us. We don't know what they're going to be. It's not a matter of if, it's when. But at the same time, fentanyl and the drugs that are killing our kids. 58,000 people died in Vietnam War. 116,000 drug deaths last year are 70% fentanyl, all due to Democratic border policies. Are you fed up yet? Ready to change the president? Then pick up your phone and turn this into 3 votes when you call them to vote for Donald Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a station break here for a minute, and my name is Bill Jensen. You're in the strike zone. Ladies and gentlemen, VBS Television Network is pleased to announce a new and exciting English language daily live news program which will commence on November the 1st, 2024, if not sooner. The programs will broadcast live each weekday, Monday through Friday, at prime time from 6 p.m. to midnight from VBS Studios located in Orange County, California. VBS broadcasts through 12 connected digital systems: YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon TV, Sony Smart TV, LG Smart TV, Samsung Smart TV, Google Play, Apple Store, and VBSTelevision.com. VBS also broadcasts throughout the entire state of California through 3 free-to-air channels, including KJLA 57.6 in Southern California, KSCZ 16.14 in San Jose, and KMMC 30.6 in San Francisco. VBS broadcasts 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. We look forward to bring you important, timely news coverage and commentary regarding politics, business, culture, and religion on a local basis here in Orange County, statewide in California, nationally throughout the United States, and also internationally, especially with respect to Vietnam and Southeast Asia. Please join in and have a wonderful time with us.
If you want to know who someone cares about, look who they fight for. Donald Trump plans to give billionaires massive tax cuts and cut corporate taxes by over $1 trillion, even as they pull in record profits. I will fight to give money back to working and middle-class Americans. More than 100 million Americans will get a tax cut, letting you keep more of your hard-earned money.
Michel Steele vinh danh Tổng lãnh sự Cộng sản Hồ Xuân Sơn. Michel Steele im lặng để chồng đưa gián điệp Trung Cộng vận động chính phủ Mỹ bỏ rơi Biển Đông. Im lặng là đồng lõa. Michel Steele phản bội ý chí chống Cộng sản của người Việt tị nạn. Cử tri gốc Việt không bỏ phiếu cho Michel.
Không muốn thấy tiền Social Security của mình bị trừ hàng tháng vì lệ phí Medicare. Asiva có một chương trình để quý vị không cần phải trả 174 đồng 70 cent mỗi tháng cho Medicare phần B. Gọi 1866 610 0655 để tham khảo.
Được phục vụ trong quân đội là niềm tự hào lớn đối với luật sư Derek Trần, sinh ra và lớn lên tại đây, nhưng ông luôn hãnh diện về nguồn gốc hiền nhân tị nạn cộng sản của gia đình ông. Tại Quốc hội, ông sẽ tranh đấu để tăng ngân sách cho Đề hạt 45, bảo đảm an ninh công cộng, phát triển nền kinh tế, quyết tâm bảo vệ an sinh xã hội và Medicare, gác bỏ quan điểm chính trị riêng để phục vụ và phát triển đất nước. Xin quý đồng hương bầu cho luật sư Derek Trần vào chức vụ dân biểu liên bang Đề hạt 45. Xin cảm ơn quý đồng hương.
May mắn đêm nay tâm hồn tỏa sáng vui tươi. Hãy chia sẻ niềm vui nào, ôi vận may ngập tràn lên. Lucky you, lucky me, lucky everybody. Lucky me, lucky you, lucky me. I praise you.
Họ không ngừng phá hủy những quyền lợi của ta, đặt lệnh cấm phá thai toàn quốc mà không có ngoại lệ, đặt kế hoạch hút sống chế độ an sinh xã hội cùng Medicare của ta. Những chính sách sẽ khiến ta lùi nhiều thế hệ, nhưng Kamala Harris sẽ không lùi bước. Kamala sẽ bảo vệ quyền lựa chọn của phụ nữ và bảo vệ chế độ an sinh xã hội của Medicare để ta có thể ngẩng cao đầu nghỉ hưu. Kamala Harris làm việc cho ta, bà đã luôn phục vụ ta.
Michel Steele.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Strike Zone. My name is Bill Jensen. You're watching the VBS broadcasting system. And I wanted to mention in the lead-off here that on October the 21st, Monday, North Carolina, Hurricane Helena, One America News was out there in a review, and there is a list of topics you can look to find regarding their coverage. President Trump was live at North Carolina in Asheville regarding this, and took a look at the floods, the mudslides, the homes, the towns, the roads and bridges, and said that America shares your sorrow for the loss of your families. So President Trump gets kudos for being there, and he also thanked the first responders and the locals who did their best work. A gentleman by the name of Adam, a former Green Beret, set up air support at a Harley-Davidson parking lot and began operations just out of basic military training. His extensive training as a Green Beret allowed him to understand what it was to take command and control for an operation devastation. It's one of the military's best capabilities sometimes is to try to organize chaos. And Adam, it was impressive. Thank you very much. You didn't say much that day in the interview, but I knew what had to be behind the actions that you took. And I think President Trump was impressed equally. Another gentleman, Brian, made the observation that nonprofits, machinery, and people were showing up to help, and he was absolutely impressed. He said for 3 weeks, people have just shown up to help and give support where the government actions seem to be missing. Mike Stewart is a business owner. He lost 70 buildings in this and said that when he went to his property, only trailers and tankers and vehicles were left in its place that had been washed in by the flood. Mike then turned around and said a prayer for the president. It was a pretty touching moment, I got to tell you. These people, I think President Trump brought hope, and the fact that there is someone that really cares about what's going on. And in the course of that, they raised $8 million before the government got there. I don't know how to tell you what it means when private citizens like Donald Trump and others that we don't have the names to right now have stepped forward and beat our own government to come to the rescue, which only goes to tell all of you that you need to be able to take care of yourself for a couple of weeks. In this case, some of these people are living out in the forest between weather incidents, just trying to survive. And the response has not been adequate from everything that I'm observing. President Trump further stated that he would do his best to bring jobs to North Carolina under the America First program. He would set up and operate some type of program that would recognize and expedite the recovery. In spite of all of this, North Carolina has beat the voting records with all the hurricane activity. What kind of people are those that can still make this work, even in the course of everything that's happening? FEMA should have been on the ground. The SBA should have been with FEMA on the ground, the Small Business Administration. They should have been on the ground. Offering these people $750, are you kidding me, man? Again, you can't even make this stuff up. If FEMA and SBA would have been there as quickly as the locals, you might have had a fighting chance to stop some of the suffering over the last 3 weeks. FEMA's air rescue was basically non-existent, coming from reports on the ground. Elon Musk saved the day by bringing Starlink in and set up instant response with Starlink. So Elon Musk, once again, you just go to prove the type of American that you really are. FEMA had to have a special meeting in Washington, D.C. to refund itself because its funds were depleted. And just about everyone that is involved suspects that it was the illegal alien support that exhausted the funds and that it may not have been legal to do it in the first place. But probably not the one of many things that really aggravated the hell out of me was the report that came back that FEMA was confiscating equipment from companies and citizens because you might hurt yourself with a chainsaw, you might hurt yourself with a backhoe. I'm sorry, take those people out, go put them in jail until this is all over and figure out what to do with them later. That is the most ignorant thing that I've ever heard reported. Moving right along, ladies and gentlemen, you might remember Project Veritas and James O'Keefe. He's out on the ground again, and we were talking about national security. And as it was reported, there's a new film out called Line in the Sand, movie.com, lineinthesandmovie.com. It's regarding the cartels And Tucker Carlson has it on his website. And the movie is by James O'Keefe. O'Keefe is at the border, and he witnessed a Border Patrol agent taking no action when a cartel was sawing the wall that Donald Trump built, the big heavy iron beams. They were sawing the beams and cutting through the wall, and the Border Patrol agent wasn't doing anything. And O'Keefe challenged him and said, "Why aren't you doing anything?" The why was not answered, at least in the report that O'Keefe gave. So O'Keefe said he could only speculate that the reasons the Border Patrol agent wasn't responding was either one, they were completely demoralized and they're just watching what happens, or they were ordered by the Biden administration and Kamala Harris to take no action. Whoever did that definitely needs to be in jail. Congress should open a hearing on finding that person right now. Who ordered a Border Patrol agent not to report and take action against guys that are cutting through a wall with guns threatening O'Keefe and the other citizens on this side of the border? Are you serious? Find that person for me. We will put their picture on television every night, and we will make sure that the United States knows what person in the administration ordered that, if that's really the case. Maybe that Border Patrol agent was just trying to retire without getting caught up in the crossfire of the Biden administration refusing to enforce the border laws and didn't want to get bounced out early. Or maybe that Border Patrol agent was on the take. I guess you have to consider everything in the end of it. Makes the good guys look bad, but those are your only options. Demoralized, ordered to take no actions, just trying to retire, or on the take. But one of those has to be the answer here. So I think that the answer, some of the answer, the reasons for cause and effect may be found in the movie Line in the Sand. Now I'd like to switch over to North Korea. In the PDD situation report with Mike Baker, North Korea, according to a Western source, is said to have potentially moved 10,000 troops, or maybe sending 10,000 troops to Russia if they're not already on the ground. Russia denies the report. Carolina Hurt from the Institute for the Study of War has seen this building up as a precursor since the fall of 23. The president of North Korea, Kim, visited Russia, right, in 23. Then Putin visits Kim this year in June of 24. Ballistic missiles are being used in the Ukraine. And ultimately, in part of the strategic analysis that Mike Baker put forward was that if Putin deploys troops, it may be to a region that frees up Putin to do other things in the Ukraine. Mike Baker recorded that some of North Korea's soldiers defected from Russia in Ukraine. So I guess one way to get out of North Korea is to get as far as Ukraine, then defect and run like hell, right? That's pretty dangerous, because if I don't know you're defecting and you're running right at me, I hope you got a white flag and your hands in the air, because it would be interesting to know what those defecting North Korean soldiers have to say. I am sure that the United States would like to know. But Mike Baker also made the point that importing 10,000 North Korean troops to fight with Russia against Ukraine was a trade-off in balance of force structure. And strategically, this allows Putin to send Russian troops to do offensive work and go after tactical objectives in the Ukraine. So potentially North Korea gets involved in this, and we are going to see different people dying on a battlefield from countries that are pretty far apart and pretty different in their political philosophies. So I'm not quite sure how North Korea loans soldiers to Russia, but that appears to be an issue. The drone strikes that are taking place are an asymmetric type of creativity in accordance with the lack of men and material, according to Mike Baker. The fuel and lubricant depots that have been hit as operations go may be tactical in by some degree or another, but ultimately begin to be strategic when you can knock out a military's ability to move because it doesn't have fuel and oil. We saw that all the way back in Germany when Rommel tried to move through Africa and starved out for fuel and oil. The Ukraine citizen sentiment says that occupation is not an option. Ukrainians are not going to make a peace agreement where they have Russians occupying their soil. They've already been there. They already know what that's like, and it's not going to happen again, seems to be the sentiment, according to what was reported. The Russian citizens, on the other hand, have been compartmentalized, according to Mike Baker, to the extent that some of the Russian citizens don't feel the war impact. This equals a mass social apathy in Russia. The other parts of Russia that are feeling the war, they don't have enough social influence to cause the mass protest for the war to gain enough speed to slow down this war or stop this war. This was by Putin's design, was to compartmentalize this so that the citizens didn't have that capability. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Baker has a program called the President's Daily Brief. We will try to bring you more information on North Korea's activities as it becomes available, but just understand that when North Korea is blowing up bridges, loaning soldiers to Russia, you better have a pretty strong president, because in Biden, they don't care what he thinks. They're going to do as they damn well please, and nobody's going to stand in their way. The jumping over to Israel. Israel's been a little quiet since they've been struck lately, and you have to wonder if that silence doesn't mean something important. A certain rabbi, Pesach Woliki, if I pronounced that right, the host of Eyes on Israel, says that Hamas's funding is broken into two parts. The Iran faction leader was killed, Yahya Sinwar, and the Qatar faction hostage that has been doing the hostage negotiations, that leader was killed, Ismail Haniyeh. So two factions of Hamas funded between Iran and Qatar are now in trouble. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bill Jensen. You're watching The Strike Zone with VBS Broadcasting. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, VBS Television Network is pleased to announce a new and exciting English language daily live news program which will commence on November the 1st, 2024, if not sooner. The programs will broadcast live each weekday, Monday through Friday, at prime time from 6 p.m. to midnight from VBS Studios located in Orange County, California. VBS broadcasts through 12 connected digital systems: YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon TV, Sony Smart TV, LG Smart TV, Samsung Smart TV, Google Play, Apple Store, and VBSTelevision.com. VBS also broadcasts throughout the entire state of California through 3 free-to-air channels, including KJLA 57.6 in Southern California, KSCZ 16.14 in San Jose, and KMMC 30.6 in San Francisco. VBS broadcasts 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. We look forward to bring you important, timely news coverage and commentary regarding politics, business, culture, and religion on a local basis here in Orange County, statewide in California, nationally throughout the United States, and also internationally, especially with respect to Vietnam and Southeast Asia. Please join in and have a wonderful time with us.
Michelle Steele ủng hộ chính sách giảm thuế của Tổng thống Trump. Derek Trần chống Tổng thống Trump giảm thuế cho giới tiểu thương. Michelle Steele ủng hộ ông Trump đánh thuế vào hàng Trung Quốc. Derek Trần không ủng hộ ông Trump đánh thuế vào hàng China. Michelle Steele ủng hộ thụ thai nhân tạo để giúp phụ nữ sinh con. Derek Trần ủng hộ phá thai tùy tiện và không giới hạn. Tái tín nhiệm dân biểu Michelle Steele để nước Mỹ vĩ đại trở lại.
I am Michelle Steele, candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Cuộc bầu cử ngày 5 tháng 11 rất quan trọng. Chúng ta chỉ có một lựa chọn duy nhất là Thượng nghị sĩ Janet Nguyễn, một người con của chiến sĩ Việt Nam Cộng Hòa, tranh đấu phục vụ cho cộng đồng người Việt suốt 20 năm qua. Nếu không giành chiến thắng lần này, chúng ta sẽ mất đi những thành quả hơn 49 năm xây dựng một cộng đồng lớn mạnh. Với đạo luật tưởng nhớ tháng Tư đen, chương trình giảng dạy lịch sử chiến tranh Việt Nam, văn phòng phục vụ cộng đồng, hội trợ y tế miễn phí. Hãy giữ tiếng nói của người Việt tại Hội đồng Giám sát quận Cam. Thượng nghị sĩ Janet Nguyễn sẽ tiếp tục tranh đấu cho cộng đồng như bảo vệ nhân quyền tại Việt Nam, chống tham nhũng, chống tăng thuế, chống lạm phát, tăng việc làm, hỗ trợ cơ sở thương mại, giải quyết vấn đề housing và homeless, mở lại văn phòng phục vụ cộng đồng, xây dựng trung tâm văn hóa. Hãy dồn phiếu cho Thượng nghị sĩ Janet Nguyễn vào giám sát viên để tiếp tục những việc dở dang, bài trừ tệ nạn bè phái và bảo vệ đồng tiền thuế của người dân. Thượng nghị sĩ Janet Nguyễn, giám sát viên địa hạt 1, cột số 2.
When I was District Attorney of San Francisco, my mother was diagnosed with cancer, and I spent many hours with her at the hospital. Fortunately, however, I could take the time I needed to be with my mother, but far too many others cannot.
Đó là lý do Kamala Harris đang chiến đấu để nghỉ phép có lương để chăm sóc cho gia đình. Trẻ con được chăm sóc với chi phí hợp lý và được chăm sóc tại nhà.
Everyone should be able to care for the people they love.
Không muốn thấy tiền Social Security của mình bị trừ hàng tháng vì lệ phí Medicare, Asiva có một chương trình để quý vị không cần phải trả 174 đồng 70 cent mỗi tháng cho Medicare phần B. Gọi 1866 610 0655 để tham khảo.
AT&T Travel Tour xin giới thiệu về các dịch vụ du lịch do văn phòng đảm nhận, chuyên bán vé máy bay đi khắp nơi trên thế giới, vé máy bay khứ hồi Việt Nam. Tùy theo yêu cầu của quý vị, văn phòng sẽ có những giá cả hợp lý. Văn phòng AT&T Travel Tours làm Renew Passport Hoa Kỳ, Renew Passport Việt Nam, loại visa 5 năm nhập cảnh Việt Nam, xin lại các giấy quốc tịch đã bị mất, làm công hàm độc thân, các giấy ủy quyền dành cho người ở Việt Nam. AT&T Travel Tours chuyên tổ chức và hướng dẫn các tour du lịch đi khắp nơi trên thế giới. Mọi thắc mắc về du lịch, xin quý vị gọi cho văn phòng ở số phone 714 841 2868 714 841 2868.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Strike Zone. My name is Bill Jensen. You're watching the VBS broadcasting system. To jump back in on the Middle East, northern Gaza is probably more important to Israel than all of Gaza. According to the reports that I've been watching, Hamas is dependent upon the United Nations for about all of their funding. The U.S. Is threatening Israel through this State Department Biden-Harris regime. And Iran has entered into an 8-front war, if I'm quoting this right, against Israel. And all of this is being funded by money that the Biden-Harris administration released to Iran. If you remember, Trump was working hard with all of the sanctions, withholding all of the funds for all the terrorist activity Iran had been involved with, and ultimately left Iran broke, which slowed down their ability to do anything in the way of declaring war. Now that they're funded up and they're $1 billion liquid, look what's happened over the last year or more with Iran attacking Israel. If this Biden-Harris-Obama 3.0 administration, according to Frank Gaffney on Securing America, Iran is using money released from these bank accounts. All of this blood, in my opinion, is on the hands of the Biden administration and Obama. They're the ones who showed the weakness. They're the ones who backed the NGOs. They're the ones who said nothing to the United Nations when they continued to fund under humanitarian auspices, circumstances, etc. And this money poured into Hamas. And now the U.S. wants to announce an embargo, a weapons embargo against Israel. And the U.S. is pushing other nations to join in the embargo against sending or selling weapons to Israel. Maybe I'm living in Alice in Wonderland. I am not sure. But China, Russia, and North Korea are assisting Iran. And now we're going to put an arms embargo against Israel? What kind of idiots are running our government? According to Dr. David Wormser, a Middle East expert, he is the senior analyst for the Middle East affairs of the Center for Security Policy. He says that our enemies in the Middle East view the U.S. State Department and the Biden administration in the abandoning of Israel as a weakness to be exploited, and that it has only emboldened our enemies to take an even greater chance and even greater chances because we do nothing. The USA funding the NGOs is now seen as undermining Israel's sovereignty and policy. So I'm the enemy. I'm watching the USA give me money, put an embargo on Israel, do nothing about Russia and China helping Iran. What am I supposed to think? Proceed forward, do whatever I want. There are going to be no consequences. Nobody's even going to interrupt my daily activity except Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a violation of just about everything you would call friendly to a policy of the only other country that's holding democracy and the idea of a republic open in the Middle East. So why would any nation want to be friends with the USA if this crooked Biden, Harris, Obama 3.0 regime continues to abandon its allies? I wouldn't, because it could pretty much be expected that at some point you're going to walk off and leave me on the battlefield and completely defenseless. You probably saw Braveheart when the other troops abandoned William on the battlefield. Yeah, one of those moments. And I believe that we have seen the same thing historically in Asia in the way the U.S. walked away from Vietnam in that mess that was not run properly whatsoever. We left good people in Vietnam that wanted to be free behind. And Vietnam was invaded by China. So if you don't see history repeating itself, maybe do a little bit of homework. Ladies and gentlemen, truthsocial.com was created by President Trump. And that platform has no restrictions on free speech, commentary, and it is coming with commentary posted by the real Commander-in-Chief, Donald Trump. So if you're trying to make some notes, put some pictures on the wall of who you should be aligning yourself with, I would say that VBS Broadcasting System is doing their best right now to give you a strong indication that they are conservative, that they are well principled in the values of the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights, and that they stand and align themselves very well with the other broadcasting systems like One American News with Robert Herring and Pearson Sharp and the boys over there, Dan Ball. I think that they align themselves very well with The War Room, with Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro and Charlie Kirk. if we band together and we get this broadcast out to the people that still value saving our borders, lowering the cost of energy and drilling for oil, and killing the new green scam that is bankrupting this country and caused 30% inflation across the board. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if your oil costs double, your groceries are going to cost double. If your fuel went up 30%, your groceries are going up 30%. So is your clothing, so are the tires on your car, anything that's transported by a truck with diesel or gasoline. So you have a choice. Elect a president that is going to lower your energy costs, lower your electricity bill. Did you like your electricity bill this year? Let me hear, United States of America. How did you like your energy bills so far? Well, we haven't seen anything yet. Winter is coming. You probably heard that statement before, and you better get ready. There's the old story of the ant and the grasshopper. The grasshopper played all summer, the ants worked all summer, and when winter came, the grasshopper had no place to stay, and the ants invited him in. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, pick your next president on November the 5th, and make sure it sticks. Overwhelm the voters' ballot boxes with Donald Trump so that they can't cheat, they can't take an election, and maybe we lower the energy prices. Maybe we seal the border. Maybe we deport 20 million illegal aliens back out of this country, and especially the criminal gangs that have overrun the country. So keep a watch out on truthsocial.com, and then let me switch subjects over here to the Latino Summit in Miami. President Trump was in Doral, Florida, and he was recognized and prayed over by the entire group as a man who represented all faiths, and that God's angels would surround. They asked for God's angels to surround him and protect him and watch over him the way they seem to have done when that bullet went to a near miss. It was said that this was an election about good versus evil, not Democrats versus Republicans. That there were 325,000 missing children from the border crossing and the trafficking. And the comments continued into understanding that the DNA testing that was set up by Donald Trump, that he had to fight the ACLU to get that DNA testing done, so that ultimately they could prove that 1/3 of the DNA tested children were not related to the people that were crossing the border with them whatsoever. So it was a complete fraud, and these children got caught up in this sweep. But now to have 325,000 missing children, I mean, that's criminal in itself. Whoever is responsible for that policy needs to be dealt with. Biden stopped the DNA testing with Kamala Harris, and now 325 children that have gone missing, we don't even have the DNA out on them to find them. Excuse me, if they ever do find them, they won't be able to match them with the DNA to find out where they crossed, when they crossed, who they crossed with, or anything. Trump was using the DNA testing to separate the children from the traffickers. So where was the crime in that? Ladies and gentlemen, there's something absolutely rotten to the core about what's going on. The country is suffering, in Donald Trump's words, a sickness, and that sickness needs to be cured. And the only way we're going to do it is to put that man back into office, President Trump. Ben Bergquam reported that they were fighting the fraud in Yuma. Please check out the movie True to the Vote, the 2,000 Mules. And Yuma County appears right now to be 30 points up from Democrat to Republican. So 30 points to the Republican side by just cleaning up the voter rolls or forcing signatures to be recognized is pretty good. The Sheriff Leon Wilmot of Yuma, Arizona, is one of the few sheriffs that is fighting the election fraud. And if you don't know it, ladies and gentlemen, the sheriff that you vote for is one of the few people that can stand between you and the federal government. So if the Bureau of Land Management wants to come out and take your cattle, the sheriff can stand him off if he wants to. If the Department of Forestry wants to send guys out with guns, like the Bureau of Land Management has done, the sheriff is the one guy who can stand them off. If somebody wants to commit voter fraud in the voter registrar's office, the sheriff is the one person that can arrest them and put them in jail. If you understand how the United States works and the full authority that your sheriff has, you will understand that there are a great deal of things that you could ask of your sheriff in an election, and if they don't stand for it, such as shutting down the election fraud, you don't have to vote for that sheriff until you find the guy that you want. So watch your sheriff's elections, ladies and gentlemen. They are extremely valuable. Some of the Latino voters in Florida who have experienced real poverty, real hunger, real tyranny, real police raids on their homes, wrongful arrests and torture, they are sounding the alarm to America. No socialism, no communism. You don't know what you're doing. You're sliding down a road. It's happening to you and you can't see it, but it's happening to you. If you measure this demise and you look at the fact that Peter Navarro went to jail as a special advisor to President Trump because he wouldn't go to a January 6th hearing, or that Steve Bannon is in jail now, even though Peter is out. Steve Bannon is in jail because he wouldn't go to a fake committee that was basically creating a January 6th event to say that we, the people, were somehow domestic terrorists and rhinos were put, Republicans in name only, rhinos, R-I-N-O-S, Republicans in name only, were placed on that committee by Nancy Pelosi and other Democrats only to try and convict Trump of things that weren't true, starting a riot or an insurrection. And those people that are still in jail have not been arraigned, they have not been charged, and they're being held in jail like this was Russia. Ladies and gentlemen, you have an option of electing a new president of the United States, Donald Trump, on November the 5th. My name's Bill Jensen. I'm running for Hesperia City Council. I need your vote also, because I'm of the same belief that Donald Trump is. Government works for us, we don't work for them. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching The Strike Zone. My name is Bill Jensen, and you're watching the VBS Broadcasting System, a conservative station that is ready to uphold the Constitution and Bill of Rights in the United States of America. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, VBS Television Network is pleased to announce a new and exciting English language daily live news program which will commence on November the 1st, 2024, if not sooner. The programs will broadcast live each weekday, Monday through Friday at prime time from 6 p.m. to midnight from VBS Studios located in Orange County, California. VBS broadcasts through 12 connected digital systems: YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon TV, Sony Smart TV, LG Smart TV, Samsung Smart TV, Google Play, Apple Store, and VBSTelevision.com. VBS also broadcasts throughout the entire state of California through 3 free-to-air channels, including KJLA 57.6 in Southern California, KSCZ 16.14 in San Jose, and KMMC 30.6 in San Francisco. VBS broadcasts 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. We look forward to bringing you important, timely news coverage and commentary regarding politics, business, culture, and religion on a local basis here in Orange County, statewide in California, nationally throughout the United States, and also internationally, especially with respect to Vietnam and Southeast Asia. Please join in and have a wonderful time with us.
If you want to know who someone cares about, look who they fight for. Donald Trump plans to give billionaires massive tax cuts and cut corporate taxes by over $1 trillion, even as they pull in record profits. I will fight to give money back to working and middle-class Americans. More than 100 million Americans will get a tax cut, letting you keep more of your hard-earned money.
Michelle Steele vinh danh Tổng lãnh sự Cộng sản Hồ Xuân Sơn. Michelle Steele im lặng để chồng đưa gián điệp Trung Cộng vận động chính phủ Mỹ bỏ rơi Biển Đông. Im lặng là đồng lõa. Michelle Steele phản bội ý chí chống Cộng sản của người Việt tị nạn. Cử tri gốc Việt không bỏ phiếu cho Michelle.
Không muốn thấy tiền Social Security của mình bị trừ hàng tháng vì lệ phí Medicare, Aviva có một chương trình để quý vị không cần phải trả 100